Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out the final of the new Zuru Toys Robo Alive Dino Action series, as this time we've got the Pterosaur. Obviously, it's a very strange looking species of Pteranodon, and I'm actually quite excited to get this one out of the box and check it out, because even though it has obviously like a childish sort of an appearance to it, I think it at the same time looks pretty cool because it sort of has like a really vintage type of a Pteranodon look, like the type of Pteranodon you would have seen in a film, like a stop motion film from the 50s or something like that, maybe like a Harryhausen type film. It almost has a similar type of a look to that. So at the same time that it has kind of like that childish sort of an appearance, it has a pretty cool looking kind of a vintage looking appearance as well. And definitely looks to be a pretty sizable Pteranodon once we actually break it out of the box here and, extend those wings. We'll get a good look at the size, but you can see that the box looks pretty much just like it always does when it comes to these Dino Action figures. You've got a really nice image there, kind of like a, sort of like an animated type image there of the Pteranodon. And then if we take a look here at the back, you can yet again see that image as well as kind of like an example of some of the stuff going on with the Pterosaur, which immediately I actually think is really cool because it looks as though we've got like tears in the wing. That is awesome, absolutely awesome. And then you can see a whole bunch of other figures that are available in the Robo Alive line. There are a few we have reviewed, and there's a whole bunch down there that we have not because they're not all dinosaurs. You can see we've got like a tarantula, a spider, a cockroach, a lizard, snake, all sorts of things, dragons, all kinds of stuff in that line. But I'm definitely excited to break this out of the box and check it out, so let's do that right now. So here is our Pteranodon. Now we'll extend the wings, and the first one clicked. This one for some reason did not, but I absolutely love the fact that there are rips in the wings. You can see rips along the bottom edges of the wings too. So that's something you don't really see too often on different pterodactyl figures, but I feel like you really should, because odds are it would probably have things like that on a real pterosaur, because I'd imagine they're not going to escape their entire life without some sort of damage to the skin on the wings, and you can definitely see that Zuru has done a great job of showing that off here on this Pterosaur. You can even see like scars and stuff within the wings that aren't as obvious as these tears and stuff, which is really neat. But sculpt-wise, it looks pretty cool. There's not too much going on as far as paintwork goes, and I definitely can say that I'm not a big fan of the fact that we have all of this stuff here on the back. I feel like they didn't put it here on the stomach because this is the side that they were obviously marketing it from, so you could really see like the stomach and everything within the packaging. So they kind of hid that stuff here on the back, and the back, unfortunately, is definitely a lot uglier than what we see on the front, because you've got the battery compartment, you have the area for the sound, as well as a mountain of screw holes, which I feel like are really unnecessary, but it still does look pretty fun. I don't know how the legs articulate, if they articulate at all. No, they don't seem like they're moving, which is upsetting because I felt like there was a chance that maybe we could get it to kind of stand if we could move the legs, but unfortunately, yeah, they're definitely not moving, which is pretty much the same thing that we had going on with the Rex and Raptor, where you couldn't move the legs, which I feel like is such a missed opportunity as far as some articulation for the figure goes. Regardless, though, it's pretty cool looking, so let's jump to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Pterosaur, you can see that it looks pretty decent. It has some okay looking texturing and stuff. It's not incredibly highly detailed, but I think it gets the point across. It looks okay. You can see as well that we have a very interesting looking beak here on the Pterosaur, and we also have those glass eyes, but just like every one of the other figures, even though the actual eye itself, if we can kind of get a view of it, it's really hard to find that spot where you can see it nicely. The eye itself is super highly detailed on the inside of the eye, but unfortunately you really can't see it. It's just got like the ugliest kind of appearance from afar when it comes to the eye. It's similar to the Hammond Collection T-Rex, where you really can't see the actual detailing of the eye, even though it's there, because the glass eye kind of obscures it, which is a downside because I used to be a huge fan of the glass eye look, but sometimes it just doesn't work that well, and this Pterosaur is a prime example of that. I don't think we have any type of neck articulation other than forward and I guess back up, so we can't really take a look too easily at the opposing side of the head. Unless we come up here, you can see that it looks pretty much the same deal with the eye, where you really can't get a very good look at it. Like, you can kind of see it, but it's just not as nice as it should be. If we open the mouth, you can see that we do have a tongue on the inside of the mouth, but we also have teeth on our Pteranodon. Pteranodon definitely did not have teeth, and the teeth are not painted, which is even more of a downside for that area of the figure, but again, it kind of follows along with that really vintage type of a look that this Pterosaur has, so you know, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, the entire Pteranodon isn't exactly what you would call an accurate interpretation of a Pteranodon, so I guess it's passable that it would have teeth like that and have more of like that almost classic monster movie style look. You can see we have a beautiful bluish tone, maybe not the most realistic tone for a Pterosaur, for a strong portion of the body, but here on the lower jaw you have a pretty bright white. That white runs down through the entire underside here that you can see of our Pterosaur, and there's some very nice detailing actually within the body. Like you could see the throat itself, as well as some nice creasing in the skin as you move down. Beautiful looking texturing to the skin throughout the chest. Moving down, you have some really nice scale detail actually in the shoulders of the Pteranodon, and then you continue to have that really nice looking skin texture here moving all the way out down onto the tail. So the detailing of the primary body itself looks really good, a lot nicer than what you see up here in the face. As you lead up into the crest of the Pterosaur though, you can see some okay looking detailing up there, but nothing really to write home about, and you can see it transitions from that blue to an orangish tip, so adding a little element of flashiness to this Pterosaur. As you look here at the back of the neck, you can see some more of that beautiful looking skin texture, as well as some more kind of splotchy orange that runs down from right there behind the crest, but very quickly disappears before you even reach the body of the Pteranodon. However, as you move down the back, you can see the spinal column right there, as well as more of those kind of clusters of larger scales and more really nice skin texture, but you can also see again all of those things that I was just kind of complaining about when it comes to all the different screw holes, the sound area, the battery compartment, and they even have words and stuff here across telling us that it is a Zuru figure and it's made in China. So there's a lot wrong with the back as far as the overall appearance to it goes, which is a downside. You can see some pretty nice looking leg sculpts though. You've got some nice muscle definition in the thigh and the calf. Pretty nice looking scoots down the toes, and you've got painted nails, which is always a plus. Painted with a nice blackish tone, not really too much of a gloss coat or anything for it. You can see both legs are kind of held up, so it looks like it's maybe like flying in and about to grasp something. That's kind of the takeaway I get from the appearance to the legs and feet of the Pterosaur. As you move up here into the wings, you can see that there's some okay looking muscle definition and skin texture moving out the course here of the arm of the Pteranodon, but once you reach the hands and the fingers, you can see that unfortunately we don't have nail paint, so that is a little bit of a downside in that area. But the actual texturing and detailing through the actual skin flaps here of the wings it's amazing. Like you can see so many different injuries and tears and just scars galore through the wings, and again even tears straight through the wing that you can see there. It really looks awesome, and that's something that I feel like more companies should do in the future. And the actual, again, skin texture of the wings looks phenomenal if you ask me. And you can see that same sort of thing over here, but as you lead out, you can see we have two tears in the mid area of the wing over here, but again, just a plethora of scars and stuff as you lead out the length. Another tear right there, some more scars leading out the length of the wing. And you can see, of course, that same type of effect here for the back of the wing. Again, lots of scars and everything on this side as well. So it does have an incredibly highly detailed appearance to certain areas, and then not so great of a detailing to other areas. Primarily the face looks a little bit less detailed than the rest of the body, but as a whole, I would say it's probably the nicest out of all of these newer figures when it comes to the detailing aspect of the figures, because I really feel like the detailing on this just looks a lot more vibrant and plentiful, more so than the previously released T-Rex and Raptor, and is probably one of the coolest looking figures of the bunch, because again, it has that really cool vintage look to it. So definitely a fun Pterosaur, but it is absolutely loaded with ugliness once you turn it around and look at it from the back, but the front still looks pretty cool. As far as the playability and articulation of the figure, you can kind of flap the wings, and the wings move together, you can see. They don't go super far, and it kind of feels like there should be a button to activate the action feature of the wings. There's a button here, but that only operates the neck and jaw, not the wings. And I'm looking at the figure, trying to figure it out, and I can't pick up on anywhere that might be like a button for that area. So I don't know if that's just something that you're meant to, articulate yourself. And then, of course, you can bend this area as well. The legs don't really move at all, but we also have this area here where we have a button in the stomach region to allow the Pteranodon to make its noises. Well, okay, I did notice that when I push the button, the wings kind of move forward, but they have a lot more mobility to them than that. But I think they'll maybe all kind of go together. So I will say I don't like the fact that we have the exact same noise for every figure in this line. The Rex, Raptor, and Pteranodon all use the same noise, which is kind of like a vintage dinosaur roar, which I like on the dinosaur, or at least the T-Rex I liked it on, but I feel like you should have gave the Pterosaur some sort of a Pterosaur-like sound. And I also think that the action feature doesn't work that well. The jaw works nicely. You can see we get a nice open gaping look for the mouth as it's coming in, I guess, to take a bite, but the wings don't really move too well. I can kind of see them moving, but it doesn't work very well as far as that goes. But certainly not your best action feature, but at the same time, I guess it's something that kids would enjoy. As far as a size goes, for a wingspan, you're looking at about 18 and a quarter inches roughly, or about the 46.5 centimeter mark for the wings, and the highest part would definitely be this wing over here. You're looking at a little over 7 inches or around 18 centimeters as I get that stuck back there. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Pteranodon, showing you that it does sport a pretty big, pretty impressive size on it. So even though it's not the best pterosaur in the world, it does at least have a pretty good size going for it. And then for another comparison, we've got the other two figures in the line, as we have all of the Dino Action figures here with the T-Rex, the Raptor, and the Pteranodon. And you can see the Pteranodon is quite clearly the largest, as it pretty much engulfs all of these figures here with it, but still pretty cool line. I definitely dig the line overall, and I'm a fan of it, and I can't wait to see what they produce in the future, though I wish they would start to, create more figures that look similar to the Dino Strike series, because even though these look pretty cool, I feel like the Dino Strike line is like where it's at when it comes to the Zuru dinosaurs. So something that hopefully they'll continue to do moving forward would be release more species in this line, but maybe more species similar to the more highly detailed Dino Strike figures. So this brand new Dino Action Zuru Toys Pteranodon is pretty cool. He's kind of like 50-50. He has a really neat look to him. I actually do like the color scheme they've given him, even though it's probably not the most realistic color scheme for a pterosaur. It looks pretty nice and is definitely, nice on the eyes, but the figure kind of has one good side and one really bad side. The back is just hideous when it comes to all the different screw holes and battery compartments and everything we have on the back. It's just an entire lost cause back there. It's just beyond ugly on the back of the pterosaur. But when you look at the front looks really nice, and the majority of the figure is really highly detailed. Of course, again, it's nowhere near an accurate Pteranodon, but when it comes to kind of like that old school movie monster style Pteranodon you would have seen in maybe like an old Harryhausen film or some other stop motion film from back in the 50s or 60s, somewhere around there, or even in the 70s, this is probably the type of look that a pterosaur would have had. So I do like that, because I'm a huge fan of those vintage type of dinosaurs, pterosaurs, all kinds of marine reptiles, things like that. So I do like the appearance to it. And again, on the underside, it looks great as far as the fine detail goes, and the paint job looks pretty cool as well. And on top of that, I absolutely adore the details throughout the wings, as far as like the tears in the wings and all of the scars, and also just generally the skin texture is incredible. The figure, unfortunately, though, does suffer from a lack of articulation. The neck articulation, even though it has a kind of like that cool action feature forward and back, doesn't have any type of side-to-side swinging articulation, which is a downside. The articulation of the wings doesn't work that great. There is no articulation in the legs at all, so Where it looks kind of cool, it also suffers from, again, those ugly screw holes and a severe lack of good articulation when it could have had a lot of articulation, which in my opinion would have really jumped the figure up as far as the overall appeal factor goes. But in the future, if Zuru could kind of fix a few different things about it, like the lack of articulation on these figures and the ugly screw holes, then I really feel like they're onto something with this line, and they could produce some really cool, obviously quite exaggerated prehistoric figures moving forward. And they also need to work on the sounds, because even though the action feature is kind of fun and we have, the sounds are pretty neat, it would be cool to actually have different sounds that are specific to each dinosaur or pterosaur or whatever they release, because they all share the same noise as of right now, and that is, again, another downside for the figure. But if you are interested in picking this up, make sure you head to your local Walmart. These retail for about $9.99, so it's a pretty good deal for something this sizable. Even though it's just not the best figure, it's still not bad for $10. So check your local Walmart in the Zuru Toys section. Grab this if you are interested, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.